Can I pause that?
Okay. So, prompt from our town clerk. Time is at hand, indeed.
Yeah, but I could sit in that chair.
Right?
So that's why I don't sit there.
Oh,
I
You can
sat
sit
there
there.
myself.
Okay, we ready?
there you are. I can see you.
My other poor dog's at home alone, but she'll be better. She's better.
Hey, Kate.
Well, not to wish bad things on Vivian, but
Wow.
it's me.
Big guys.
And not to wish bad things on Vivian.
But Charlie said it's it's two thunderstorms. Right?
Gary, take that.
And I checked the thing right before it, severe warning, high wind, damaging wind.
Could do without it.
Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, ready?
Go.
So, Gary and Charlie, could you take your seat so we can get started? All right, let's call the meeting to order. Shortly after 6 here, and welcome to all here present. Additions and deletions to the agenda. A couple we got added since yesterday. Should we put those at the end?
Yes.
Agreement to spend highway funds and members of the municipal cooperative agreement.
Actually, we might put them before the discussions.
After 9:2. Okay.
The disbursement of highway funds?
Yeah,
That we said?
Yeah.
yeah, after 9:2. Anything else to come on or come off?
I had some, but I can't remember, so.
Won't come to you. Okay, privilege of the floor. Anyone who would like to address the board about anything? Oh, there's Ted. Go ahead, Ted Crane.
Thank you. I would like to apologize. During the last meeting, I made a statement during privilege of the floor, and I blew it. I was thinking about one thing and said another, or maybe I was thinking about the wrong thing when I said it. When I said that Renee Owens had posted something on Facebook, I misspoke. In fact, she had used her town email address to send email. And in the context of what I was saying last week, had she used her personal email to send that same email, it would have rendered her entire email history subject to FOIL. That's what we were told by by New York State Archives and by the Committee on Open Government. I may be speaking to folks who are already convinced, because as I read in the proposed policy revision, you are still retaining every town board member, appointee, etc., as an email. And I approve of that. I think that's a great idea. It goes without saying that the town's record should be an open book for the public to look at. So I apologize for my misstatement, and I hope I've corrected it for the record. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, anybody here? Okay, then let's move on. Is there any correspondence?
No,
Okay, any announcements?
I have none.
Okay, anybody else?
There was a notice in the newspaper
Yes.
about meeting with the Danby Community Council and the
Okay,
park
Yeah,
for July 9th. I don't know if that warrants an announcement. Hopefully the public will know that it's going on, and I just happened to catch I must have been Must have been a Slim Ann Landers day.
Uh-huh.
Um,
It was you who noticed this?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, it's fairly amazing. Not too many people look at the legal notices, not to mention
Yeah.
hardly anybody gets the Ipswich Journal anyway.
I know.
Ted, since you're here and you're on that board, maybe you could explain why this, what looks to be an important meeting is being held at the at the Museum of the Earth instead of here in Danby.
I became aware of your email this afternoon, and you will be getting a response directly from Amanda. In short, we were looking for a place that was neutral, that would accommodate people, and that was inexpensive and weatherproof. And the email will probably say the same thing and explain why other spaces that were more that are in Danby simply didn't meet the criteria. That's very simple. Speaking as a individual, I will say something that I think that you couldn't be told officially, which is that I think the town is on thin ice talking, since you did write as the supervisor. The email came from the supervisor, not from Joel Gagnon, private citizen. The town is on thin ice talking about bad optics when you're willing to schedule meetings with minimal notice, provide no more than the required minimal notice, which is to post it on a bulletin board that nobody sees, and to put it on a web page that nobody knows they should go look at unless they're obsessive Ann Landers readers, if Ann Landers appeared on the town website. These things happen. You can find bad optics in anything that anyone can do. So I personally think that your letter was out of place. There's a perfectly good reason why it is where it is.
Well, I trust that Amanda will indicate why that is.
Well, you have the gist of it.
Okay. Let's see. Dan is not with us tonight. Neither has he submitted anything in writing. And Keith here?
Keith is right there.
Oh, hey, when you know. Keith, you want to give us a report now or wait till it comes up on the agenda?
Yeah, you're right.
I guess it's where it is, isn't it? Yeah. To do that, you'll have to come up here so that we can do
Big chair, the big man. Thank you.
You put it too
Okay.
far back.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I
Yeah,
was
Keith.
on a bulldozer all day and my ears are ringing.
Oh, no.
With earplugs. Is there, do you guys have?
Nope,
Yeah,
it's right
that.
here.
Okay, good.
So that it's,
Hi, everybody.
kind of nice.
So we are looking for permission to spend funds. I gotta get my glasses here. So we're looking to pave some roads beginning next week,
Mhm.
on the 24th. We're looking to pave Short Road. We're looking to pave Valley View and Maple Avenue. There's a little bit of a repair work on the very top of Curtis Road that we're looking to repair. That's a $6,000 repair. That would have to actually come out of the general fund, not the, not our CHIPS money. Let's see, and Short Road would actually have to, that would actually have to come out of general repairs too. Then we're actually looking to possibly do another mile. We're actually looking to do possibly Gunderman Road. We're throwing out a road, not saying Gunderman will be it, but for sure, but we're throwing out another, hopefully with the intent to do another mile of road this year.
Mhm.
We have to choose a road that's up to snuff, that, you know, that's up to standard to pave.
Mhm.
Gunderman doesn't have to have too much work to be done on, so we're trying to get the approval so we have time to do it after the 24th, if need be. However, there is other roads out there that are first in line before Gunderman Road, but we have to see if we can get the work done this year. If not, we'll come back for it. We'll come back for another approval and it'll be at a later date, but so Gunderman might get kicked a little bit. I'm sorry, but it's right up there now, but
But only.
yeah. But
That's county in the town.
I knew this was gonna be a hard conversation. And I see Gary being down. Yeah, but. So we're looking at Gunderman. So we have $35,000 we're looking for an approval out of our CHIP. That'll be CHIP's money on Maple Avenue. We have 45,000 that we're looking for on Valley View. That'll be on CHIP's money, and then 70,000 on CHIP's money. Actually, she's got the 20,000 for Short Road on Highway Road Repair Line.
Yeah, we can put that.
Yeah.
Okay, yep, and the
And
top
same
one.
with the
Yes,
person,
okay.
yeah.
I was saying general fund, not general fund.
Okay,
So
highway.
the Highway
Highway
Road Repair Line, sorry.
Mhm.
So,
I'm curious about it. $20,000 for a short road? No. 20,
why? Because it's a short road?
yeah, right.
It is a short road.
So I got 45 and 35, I think, so 45 for Valley View, 35 for Maple. Is that correct?
Yeah.
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 And then there's two other roads.
Yep,
6 for Curtis,
6 for repair on Curtis.
70 Gunderman, 45.
I think I
Valley.
went out of
70 for
line.
Gutterman.
I was all over. But
And short road?
short road is
I can't.
20,000,
20,000.
yeah. And that'll be for 3 inches of compacted pavement
Is that
on all of
included chip
them.
seal on top? Or is that an addition?
Yeah, it'll be, first we'll pave it, then we'll come back and chip seal everything and,
Mhm.
these figures are with the chip seal.
Wonder
They're
about
with the aggregates already turned in, so
Mm-hmm.
even though we have it on the ground, we've paid for it. This is what will be turned into chips
Mhm.
for everything that we already have, so.
Mhm.
We're actually in really good shape budget wise. That's why I'm trying to get another mile in this year.
Mhm.
But I also want to make sure the roads are 125% ready before we just put pavement down, so,
Throw good money after bad.
yeah, so.
Is Curtis potholes?
What's it?
What's Curtis is potholes or?
So
We just
there's
refri-
2
we
bad
started-
sections on top that are,
No. Okay.
I think it's due to moisture that comes, so it's in a real hot spot. When you go from shaded to real hot zones, sometimes if you get moisture underneath the pavement, there's one spot that just keeps on blowing out. And I don't think that there's water in the road per se, other than maybe moisturizing to make it blow out, but I don't think there's like any water filtering into it, but sometimes it's, it might a
Because of
little
weeping.
bit of binder, which is a lot thicker than what they did. Generally, they used to just grind the roads in,
Yeah.
smooth them off and put couple layers of stone oil down and they called it a day. And a lot of times that's gonna come back to haunt you. So what we've been doing is we've been cutting them straight out, taking everything down a little, at the top of Hornbrook Road was really bad. And we put a 3-inch compacted binder patch over that whole area. And I think that'll hold up 100 times better than just doing.
Patches 4x4.
Yeah, but you have to, no, this is the whole width of the road by maybe 200-300 feet with a paver, putting in
That's a patch.
compaction. Yeah, it's a real patch, yeah. And then in the years to come, if you keep sealing that road, you may keep that good road, that as one of your good roads for the future to come, if you keep religiously sealing it every 5-6 years, and if you're doing the right thing with it. So trying to save a couple of these roads that aren't too bad on the chip seal. We don't want to let them all go because they're all going. And we want to save the good ones that we can, especially those longer ones. If you got a little something that you can do. A $6,000 is a really small fee considering on a 1.4 mile long road.
It's a strategic investment.
Yes, yes.
Right, I think, I can't. It's so great. Hearing you, and I haven't getting an explanation for this stuff.
Yeah,
Wasn't always done in the past,
yeah.
and. You know,
I see it,
so-
yeah.
and we're gonna do it again. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
I think
Probably
everybody,
a shared opinion.
they just,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. That means a lot.
I appreciate that you're not, over paving, so they, you can just
Yeah, yeah.
keep the cost down by just paving what's reasonable.
We have a really great cushion coming into next year. This is about maybe half of where I'm at.
Mhm.
The last time I went over it with Laura, so I mean, we're in good shape. We're in really good shape. Our equipment's real good. All of the material for winter, we have all of our material on the ground, so we're in good shape.
and soon to be better equipment.
Yep, thank you, thank you again all for that, that's awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
I look at these guys every day when they crawl on an old machine and I'm thinking, oh, you got your fingers crossed, and that's not a good place to be,
Right.
so. Yeah, thank you very much for that.
Okay.
Thank you for everything and for watching out for the safety of the.
Yeah, you're welcome. The people that appreciate it is why I'm here every day. That's what keeps me doing it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you feel a lot of things from residents from time to time too.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
That's why I kind of like when you explain how much it costs and what you have to do for a section of a road, because there's so many times that people in general say things to me about roads or this or that, and I say, if you had any idea of the cost,
Yeah.
any,
yeah,
it would be helpful, but it's easy to complain.
Mhm. If you did expect the town to spend thousands of dollars on their little strip of road.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
thanks.
You're welcome, thank you.
So we'll get to that by and by. Okay. An update on the migration. Would you want to give us an update?
I'm gonna
Ryan?
see you about the list at some point.
Yeah,
Great, thanks.
you're done with me up here?
Yeah,
I think we're
yeah,
done.
good.
Thank you,
You've been very-
thank you.
You're very-
Unless you want more.
I don't
Yeah, what
usually
we can
come.
bury you in, like,
October, it could be back.
I just want to say, that there is some, pretty ugly looking weather headed our way. So if you lose me, I'll be back in 5 minutes. It doesn't look like it's gonna be long, but it's gonna be nasty for a minute here. The email migration is,
I came in here without expecting any bad weather, so my window's open.
Oh, go.
Yeah,
close.
go do it.
Yeah, go do
Bad
it.
time, close it.
Yeah, I closed Mariah.
so the email migration is nearing completion. Everyone who has a danby.ny.gov should be rolling along with their email in Microsoft Outlook. If that is not the case, please give me a call at the town hall. The next phase in this migration is documents. And right now I am learning how to embed documents from Microsoft Office to online. We don't have that perfected as of yet, so we're still learning. Also, all the forms that are online are going to go away as Zoho goes away. So I will also be learning how to create forms and post them online. I will let everyone know as soon as SharePoint and Teams are ready for us to get in there, roll our sleeves up and get to work in Outlook. That's all I got. How does it look out there, Joel?
Doesn't look all that promising actually, but I hope we do get some rain.
Yeah,
Rain, but not damaging wind.
Yeah, exactly, could do without that part.
Steve will be running out for some of the emergencies too.
Okay, the meeting minutes for May and June.
I move that we approve the May 20th and the June 30th meeting minutes.
June 3rd and
What did I
second it.
say?
it's the 30th, but.
Oh, I meant third.
Yeah.
Did you get a second?
Second.
Yeah,
Okay, you said it.
yeah. I mean, I can comment that I was doing tidying up as late as 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Yeah.
but Nothing substantive.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Pat did.
Thank you, Pat.
Are we ready?
I'm just a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All wanted. to-
Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
and the warrants.
I move the general fund vouchers 174 to 193 for $38,952.34.
Second.
Discussion. Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome. I move highway vouchers 99 through 107 for $21,292.35.
I'll second it. Discussion. Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you. Who's whispering?
I'm sorry, talking to
You
the
can't
dog.
whisper anymore. Our microphones are too sensitive.
Okay,
You're talking to Vivian.
I was talking to
It's
Vivian.
starting to
Oh, Vivian.
be
She's starting to
terrified
You wanna-
in spite of,
If you want to put
Precaution.
Vivian in with me, that's okay.
I might, if I have to, I will. Thanks.
I move-
So we would do the
Move the water fund vouchers 14 through 18 for $743.34.
Second.
discussion. Okay, the vote.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Why- side table to that side, usually go
What?
here.
Yeah, it's, I'm gonna try and cinch it between the tables so I don't pull it.
Mhm.
It's there.
she's over there.
Okay, we have
Who's that
the
can hold her?
2024 Youth Year Agreement. Somebody want to move we approve it?
I move we approve the Youth Bureau 2024 agreement.
Second that.
Discussion.
Thank you. Thank you from the youth.
yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I guess we're ready.
and the families.
Mhm.
Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay, email policy. What was connected to the agenda is the existing policy, not any proposal for revision.
right.
Where we left off, I think, because it was a sense that we certainly would want anybody who was a committee chair or board chair and an elected official and staff to have an email. Question had to do with other people. This came up as a topic of discussion at the CAC, where there has been trouble getting on. And, a couple people, expressed reluctance to do business for the town without a town email. So, so one possibility is to make it available for those who want it.
Yeah.
And then for others, as long as they CC, communications, somebody who has a town email, then the
Right.
email, the communication would be captured
Right,
by the system. I think that covers all the bases.
There is also the making of a Gmail that's specific to town that says Town of Danby, Hunter at Danby,
Yeah.
blah, 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 no, Hunter, Town of Danby at Gmail.
Mhm.
So it's specifically only.
Set
I
up an
can't-
account specifically for town
Yeah.
stuff.
I can't remember where I was discussing with them that.
If people want to do that. Get a measure of separation.
Right.
By the way, do we have a problem with our old email and people overusing it or anything? There's no,
It
Now, the
just
the only
costs.
problem was
Oh,
the,
cost?
then,
Yeah.
you know,
You
I-
have to pay for every account, it's a shitload of money.
yeah, it was, well, I think with,
How much?
I think with Zoho, it was like $15 a month per user.
Yeah.
But with,
Yeah, it's
with,
365.
yeah, what you call, Outlook Mail, it's like $22 per user per month. That is up to a substantial amount of money, and we get 50 people who have emails done. So it calls into question, and when we checked around, we discovered that nobody's doing that, even though it's maybe best practice, nobody's doing it. And some towns don't have anybody except the board members having town email.
I mean, before we had town email, I have vague memories of, if you were, addressing something that had to do with town business, you made sure you CC'd somebody else that had well, nobody had a town email,
Once upon a time, right?
but I remember there being a point at which we were trying to make sure chairs got CC'd
Mhm.
on stuff, and maybe that didn't have anything to do with cost of emails, but,
Mhm. But we adopted the current policy
I mean-
in 2020,
yeah,
and where we said anybody who does business for the town should have a town email.
yeah.
And that's where it's where we still are until we change it, but, so,
Well, then you
if we agree on
we can
some-
talk about business, what is business
This
and,
is true. That's another
and
matter.
what committees or board, I mean, I can, what committees or boards are doing town business on email. We don't even,
Yeah, right. Well, it's, as somebody pointed out, I remember talking to them, anybody can sue anybody for anything.
right,
That doesn't necessarily get them access,
right,
but you have to deal with it, so if we could make it the town policy that if you're doing town business, you do it either with a town email or you include somebody,
yeah,
then, that's our policy, and that's what the record that you have access to. If anybody's doing something other than that, good luck figuring it out. But it's not our responsibility. We have a policy. So, so if we're in agreement
I mean,
that that's what
just-
the policy framework should be, we need to revise the policy.
Yeah.
Who wants to work on that?
I'll help with it.
Okay.
I was trying to find examples. I mean, like Ulysses doesn't even really have one. I mean,
Yeah.
Not
No, I was the
really.
most elaborate, I think. So it's a
Um,
matter of paring it down and then basically making it
Yeah.
clear that for those other cases, we can write it. It's not that big a deal. I'll work
just,
with you
how do
on
we,
it.
how do we decide? Just anybody who wants a town email gets one?
That's what was being proposed, because I don't think there'd be that many people who would want it. I mean, we had people before who insisted on not having it,
Right,
and that was problematic because policy was you're supposed to have it if you're doing town business. We don't want it. Okay, what can I say? And then there were people who wanted it but couldn't make it work.
right,
Problems with the Zoho mail, it just didn't,
Right, right.
wasn't working for them. Now we've got, there's a few people who would probably want to have it. I don't know how many. A couple
I
people in
mean, just
CAC.
because you have it, just because you have town email doesn't mean that your personal email is not up for grabs.
if somebody wants to, make a case for why they should have access to it, but, I religiously separate and have everything on all my town businesses on town email.
She was
Yeah.
saying you in the general sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody.
Yeah.
Some of us are.
You know,
some
I
people
mean-
are
I was
not.
gonna say, anybody can, they can go fishing, because that's what you get with a lawsuit, you
Right.
want all communications, but, relevant to this topic. You say, well, pursuant to our policy, there's what we've got. If there's anything more out there, we don't know about, because it's not our responsibility to track other people's personal emails. But, but here's what people are supposed to do, this is our policy. And that gives you some measure of protection. Not the end of the world, I mean, it's not ironclad, but it's as good as we can do. I mean, suppose we continue the current policy, says you have to do business, and you have to use town email, and people don't do it, and they use their personal email. Well,
Right.
that can happen,
Right,
and, they're at risk. But because they're not following our policy that says you're supposed to do your town business with the town email. Well, there's nothing we can do, we can't force people to do it.
right,
So this is, it's a shift in terms of, what we're providing. We're providing town emails only to those who really want it, or our committee chairs or board chairs or elected officials, and staff. And that's the list that Mariah prepared for us last time. It's, was it 22 or something?
About 25 people.
25 people.
25? And then a couple
Yes.
more, because I mean, Ann Kling said, there's no way I'm gonna do town business on my personal email. I want town email again.
But she did also say she would do a separate Gmail.
Yeah.
That was her
Yeah.
consolation thought she had.
Mhm.
Now,
I
that
mean,
was
that's an
at
option.
one meeting.
Yeah,
For the CAC, when negotiating easements with people, it's nice to have it official. It gives you legitimacy, to say, I'm part of the CAC, and that you have, part of the negotiating team for your easement, that the people that whoever the donor is, potential donor, they're dealing with people who have town emails, it makes it sort of official who they're dealing with. As opposed to, somebody with a Gmail, who are you, So I think it's, in that case, rather useful to have it. But that's more the exception than the rule. I mean, I don't know that the, BZA members would want it. We can't do ex parte communications anyway. Same thing with the planning board. So, and if it's just like, shall we meet at 5 on Tuesday? It's not, anything going to be much of interest to anybody, but.
Well, the other ththing is in the records retention thing that we came to,
Right.
it said the kinds of things that have to be retained. That was specific. You were there, right? They said specifically, if you're just saying that's 5 or 6 of us are gonna go, how about 10 o'clock? That record doesn't have to be kept, but some other thing that might pertain to it has to be.
Mhm.
And then so the records retention on top of this is a separate issue.
Yeah, it is. And Mariah was concerned about, who the hell's going to sort through and decide which ones to keep and which ones
I
not.
know.
So basically our policy is we'll keep them all. It's not
Yeah.
that big a deal to keep them all. Some
Right.
of them will be relevant, some of them won't, but
Right.
it's not worth sorting through to decide what to keep and what to get rid of.
Right.
So, did you want to work on this, Pat, or?
Hmm?
Did you want to work on this, or?
No.
No? Maybe you and I can work on it.
yeah, or maybe more, I don't know, Mariah might want to.
If you'd like to, that'd be good.
Sure. I can work on that. I'm in.
So it's a 3-person committee. Mariah, me, and Leslie. To write it up pursuant to what we just agreed to, basically. And bring it back as a proposal for revision. All right.
Highway funds.
Yes, agreement to spend highway funds.
I move that we, agree to spend the highway funds based on, request number 1 from the highway department.
Mhm. Do we have that printed out someplace? We can all sign it.
I printed it out.
With the heading.
Once we approve it, we need to sign it, pass it around the table and sign it.
I printed that. I did also. but-
So you moved it, we approve it, right?
I move to approve.
Yeah, and is there a
I'll
I'm sorry,
second.
who seconded that?
Leslie did.
Thank you.
Can I do that?
Yeah,
Any discussion? We talked about it a little bit. Looks
I
like a
have no idea what you're saying.
prudent expenditure of funds to me. So, any further discussion? So, the vote.
Okay, let's see, Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, there's only 4 lines on here, but
The supervisor was up top.
Was it?
Yep.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
Well,
sign it.
well,
Well, should Pat sign the supervisor one?
sure. Just cross it out and put it on. Whatever. Just have a record. Amendment to the municipal cooperative agreement. So the way Laura explained it, we approved a 3-year thing, but then the state changed their mind and decided it needed to be an annual. So it's a formality to say, okay, we're okay with 2024. And so I move that we approve the 2024 amendments to the municipal cooperative agreement.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, was that Pat?
Yeah.
Yep,
Thank you.
no discussion. So go ahead.
Connors,
yes,
Hanson,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes. I
Awesome.
have that signature page, by the way, Mariah, if you want to get it.
I'm sorry?
I have the signature page for that agreement.
Oh, very
We all
good.
signed it, what you're saying,
Yeah.
you're saying.
Okay, well, very timely arrival of Warren Cross with the discussion on Newark. Warren, you want to come up and have a seat here where you can be heard?
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
Beamforming microphone. Neat. What am I explaining?
Your proposal, basically.
With your ideas, right?
So the last time around with the noise law and the research we did, one of the things that never happened was the homework and sort of the grind of describing literally what we're talking about. And so things like, there's a big difference between saying you can operate machinery from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. than 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. or whatever that is. So, in a lot of these ordinances, construction can happen from here to here. What does it mean for us? So literally, what is the hour that starts? What are the hours that ends? Some of the other objective things like what is unnecessary, what is excessive, what term literally does work for us best. And this is really in sort of the zoning world, mostly, because I think that some of these things are way more definable. What we also found with the sheriff and for adjudicating a lot of these things, they want things in the subjective. They don't want to carry around a decibel meter. They want to arrive at a site. Something sounds completely insane. Somebody has just got a radio to the point of where, waking the dead. They want to be able to say, oh, okay, I'm going to go to that house and I'm going to say, hey, can you just turn it down? You're really driving everybody crazy. They made it really clear, we don't want to issue tickets. We just want the aegis to be able to walk up to the door and say, make it stop. The judges don't want to prosecute it and say, really, we don't want to deal with this. So we're in this subjective soup when it came to a law where it is not subjective And where we kept coming back from is like the sheriff kept having this category of things that if it really went beyond that immediate making feel somebody unsafe, it's not my thing. And so I was going into this
Can you
loop.
say that again?
So
The sheriff is saying it's not.
the sheriff is really saying anything that goes beyond intervention in that particular moment, that's not my thing.
Right.
That's somebody else. And so we were playing catch between Guy and our town planner. And it's like, well, this really is a zoning thing. No, that we really need a noise law, and that's really noise. It's so caught up in this loop, it was very clear that Guy did have a point in that when we went down all the complaints that we've had from now for the past several years, and we sort of lined them into things that would be intervened by a law. Yes, there are some things that we really did need a noise law. And then there's other things that really need to be defined by property use and land use and ordinances. And that's where it got really mushy. And that has an effect on where we fall with the noise law.
Mhm.
So it felt like, okay, we need to get this worked out. And the last time we had the panel and we got into this, we were getting into all these philosophical issues about, yeah, no. Can we start with, this is what 90 decibels sound like. Is that appropriate at the property line? Okay, I'll bring it. I will give you the greatest demonstration ever 100 times if I need to show everyone or anyone and say, we're saying that, okay, if we all in a room, if a group of people in a room say, we've looked at 200 ordinances and they say that, okay, 90 decibels at the property line feels excessive. Okay, let's listen to 90 decibels at the property line and say, yeah, you're right, that's excessive. Check. You know, time, duration, those things need to be described for Danby. And so that we can say, because we can't proceed with a law, we can't proceed with an ordinance, we can't proceed with any of these things until we really agree. As many opinions as there were in the room, as there were people who say, well, I don't know, I think the cutoff should be at 1. Well, I think the cutoff should be at 2. I think the cutoff should be at 11. It should be this kind of thing. It should be that kind of thing. Well, I think there needs to be a group of people that are empaneled to do, and I use this word, the unsexy work of literally going through the verbiage and the technology. This is not about whether we need a law or not. This is literally to say, when somebody decides to enact an ordinance or apply an appropriate use condition to a piece of property as to do with sound emanation from that, these materials will be there. These facts, this data will be there. We're not getting into this whole philosophical thing. Should there be a law? One of the like, what does this mean to this or what is it? No, we're literally saying this is excessive, this is not excessive. This is unnecessary, this is not unnecessary, because again, I got into this whole thing with Guy, and Guy needs specificity.
Can
I know what you're gonna say,
you do?
and I do.
You've heard me before say. So, I mean, first of all, you were saying that the point of the law is only so that the police can be called so they can come to the house and they'll make a determination whether or not, you know, it's excessive or not. They want it to be subjective. And they go up to the house and probably in most cases say, could you quiet it down? And they go away. That's all we want to have happen, right? I didn't think that there was.
Why? It goes
What?
away and then you turn it back up again.
So that's the basic one, to do that. The other case is if there's some unlawful gathering of some kind that goes beyond the barriers that we need to actually prosecute something. But those two things should be in two totally different categories. And so my answer is yes to both of them. Did that help you?
We also have situations where there's a renaissance of home DIY stuff going on. And it's one thing to do some repairs on your house. It's another thing to run a wood processing center 18 hours a day next to your neighbor at 110 decibels.
Well, there you go.
Not
You're back to
okay.
commercial again, though.
Right. Well, no, in a residential area.
But
or
it's the
a-
commercial enterprise.
in the wrong place, right? Exactly.
Home
When it's not
occupation.
necessarily commercial. I mean, there's a guy that has a home mill to build his own house.
Yeah, but
That's
it's-
not commercial in
Yeah,
any way.
but still, we're back to the same thing. If the idea is not to prosecute them, the idea is to stop them. You get a policeman coming to your house, typically, and this is really, it's almost foolproof. I've never seen it not work. When somebody goes to the house, the party stops, at least for an hour.
Mhm.
But it basically stops. And I mean, unfortunately, there is a participation by the people making the complaint. They start back up again. It doesn't happen that much, truthfully, here in Danby. But, so, are we back to having an answer?
I think there remains two different laws that we're talking about. And I think they're both based upon where we didn't get to the last time we got into this is we didn't get into the weeds. And so,
What's reasonable, what's not.
yeah, it was a whole problem with due process.
Mhm.
So the problem with due process is there is no simple law because of due process. Due process demands that you lay out every single thing that you're about to do wrong and what's going to happen when you do it, so that when you do it, you are mindful in the act of doing it.
Okay.
And anything else, because we all wanted something that just gave us enough teeth so that we could go there and bring somebody in negotiation.
So.
That's against the law.
Town of Ithaca, and I know this is ancient history now, but they had a very simple noise law. That, I don't know if it's still there or not, or they've been forced into something different because of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it was plenty. I mean, we're talking about the town of Ithaca, right? Density of population, a lot more students, all the same, 10 times 100 times the problem that we're ever gonna have out here. So.
It's
I'm
recent
back to what Pete
challenges.
is saying, Go
I
simple,
know.
go simple, go simple. But I'm saying also you could do two laws, right? Depending on the second law has to do with like, I can't remember what it's called when everybody, gets on the phone call and calls their friends and everybody ends up at a place and they're having a party.
Right,
So
right.
we're working on a separate law already.
Yeah,
With large.
Especially
events.
then.
Event.
so there it is.
Especially events.
That's land use,
Right.
right? So
Right,
that's
so
a
that-
zoning permitting thing. And
Yes.
and that falls under the CEO, the code enforcement officer. And in that world, so that's a whole different processing.
So we don't have to talk about that world, do we? Because it's on. in
Well,
the
we need
works.
to-
No, we do.
We need to work that law up,
Right, well, we're working on the law,
Yeah,
In the process.
right.
right.
It still needs terms, it still needs guidelines, it still needs some sort of, it needs a little objectivity in there because it needs to define time, time, place, duration, all those kind of things. So the contextual stuff that makes that stuff work. Right, so there is that thing.
Okay, so that takes out half the problem.
Exactly.
So now the
So,
other half is that soft glove thing.
yes. And the problem with that, as we found, was there isn't something that's super simple because 97, 2000, 2014, 2017, 2019, there were significant challenges that pretty much said due process doesn't work with squishy laws. You really have to be super clear about,
What's wrong?
don't step over that line. Don't step over the line. You stepped over that line.
wait,
Okay,
wait,
now
wait,
I'm gonna
I got
do that.
another one for you. Does that really matter? With the amount of time that this law is going to be used, the squishy one, does it really matter? Are we gonna get brought to court somewhere because someone called on their neighbor? This is
How
reality.
much are we going to be, are we going to take somebody to court? you trying to use that law as a basis for it.
Well, we're not gonna, that's not what the squishy law is for. We're not ever gonna bring somebody to court because we wanna, because a neighbor calls them
And
without
what,
being too loud.
what Guy would say
Never.
is that's against the law. That's against due process.
Yeah.
But can we
It's
get,
like-
can we get away with it?
No, you can't write a law that you don't intend to use.
Yeah, right.
But we are writing a law so it can be used as a neighbor calling on a neighbor to get enforcement to come out and please quiet down.
But you can't write that in the law. The law has to be more explicit than that, and then it has other side effects besides that. You just can't say that. Oh, we're writing this so that somebody can come and tell you to stop. You can't
Okay,
write a law.
so next question.
Yeah,
So have you written a law that passes your requirements and still remains squishy?
I haven't gotten there. Well, the last thing we got was, I had a super simple law,
Yeah.
and then what Guy came back with was what Guy needed to see to cover due process. And when that came back to us, there was a reaction of what,
Crap.
yeah, right,
So,
what the
got
hell?
that on recording? So,
Exactly.
sorry, I have, I need to provide pushback on Guy. He is our lawyer. I mean, we depend on him for a lot of stuff. Can we talk to somebody else? Just to see, or like, I mean, can we get you to go down and talk to the town of Ithaca and see how they're dealing with this thing? If they don't have Guy as a lawyer, just to see what their lawyers.
We need, yeah, right, sorry.
Yeah, go
We
ahead.
need somebody to carry this through to New York State. That's really what needs to happen. Guy will not take a simple vague law and take that to New York State. So you're essentially asking for somebody who will take something that's a little squishy and take it to New York State.
The trouble with the squishy is that the potential for abuse. Applied in a discriminatory way.
Well, so it's the other one. I mean, as soon as it gets if you go beyond squishy, you've got this thing that you're still giving them the opportunity to call someone, right? And the question is, will we get our guns out and try to, I mean, the point is to be able to have the police come out. That's the point. So I'm not quite understanding. If we get the police to come out, we're not going to go out there and enforce it any more than that. We're not going to we are not sending him out there to do this. He is not, I'm telling you right now, he is not going out there.
That's not his job if it's a separate law.
Well, he mentioned that,
If
he
it's
did
only-
mention that.
Only if it's in
Oh,
the
yeah.
code.
Yeah.
If it's part of the code, then yes.
So who else is going out?
Nobody.
I mean, basically, you're talking about decibels, so somebody has to go out to the edge of the road and take that count.
And for me, I think that in an ongoing zoning dispute, subjective is not gonna work.
Not-
I think,
So you put,
I think the
you put the
timeframe-
numbers in, as long as they can call and get the police to come because the thing is on the books. And when we realize that the point is this simple goal,
Right.
then we don't, as a board or as a community or as a code enforcement officer, we don't need to do anything beyond that. And do your tough law if you want to, because then it's there. And then they can make their phone call. And then if anyone comes and challenges us for being, I got lots of words for what that person would be, then they would say, has anyone ever been prosecuted?
not many. It has happened more in the town of Ithaca than,
Yeah, I mean, witness the fact that we had a police officer who said, I've been doing this for like 30 years or something. And I've responded to these things many times and the law works. But then when you ask him, they never went to court.
Never go to court, yeah.
Because, he talks to him, he assumed that the law was there in the event that he were gonna do it, but he
Yeah.
never did do it.
Right.
It just didn't work out.
And time and money, it's not worth our time and money.
But, here's where we were. I mean, we had looked at subjective versus objective approach. And the objective approach, the problem was that, nobody's got a decimal meter, they need to be calibrated and so forth. So we said, okay, if we can't, and sheriff's department doesn't have one, and they don't want to be bothered. Then if that's the case, then why you know, how can you possibly have a law that's based on an objective standard? We might as well go with something that's subjective, which is based on, you know, basically paralleling the state disorderly conduct law, which says it's pretty squishy, basically unreasonable noise,
Yeah. yeah.
whatever that is. But basically up to a judge to decide what's unreasonable or not in that event. Somebody gets taken to court, the judge decides what's unreasonable and what isn't, so that's where we went. And that's what our simple law was, that there's a, you know, talk to a guy and see how you can get this enshrined in something that will pass. And a guy's saying doesn't work, because it can't satisfy the due process.
Because we don't have a decibel meter?
Well, that's the question. You know, we're supposed to go through this process that you've described, you know, where we empanel a group to determine, you know, what are unreasonable levels of noise at the property line or whatever. There's got to be some standard. I mean, somebody can be able to have to measure it to say, well, you just exceeded that standard, and therefore.
This is, and so just to make clear, we're talking about things sort of like in the ordinance world, not in the noise law world. Because the arc of time is really different. So what the police have no interest in coming back 6 times to deal with 2 neighbors. You know, the generator on the corner of the property, the this or whatever, any, you know, weaponizing noise, stuff like
Yeah.
that. It happens once. You know, somebody does an Airbnb and they have hell children rent their place and make their neighbors absolutely insane. Cops come out, hey, can you really turn it down? Okay, done. Subjective.
Well, yes, it's subjective, but the law isn't. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
The law is subjective. So the noise law that we would provide for the sheriff, because the police want nothing to do with it. Stadies want nothing to do with it. Nobody except the sheriff would actually adjudicate this or even come out or answer the phone about that.
Okay, let me go back to the other thing. You're shaking your head. Can we just write the squishy law and forget about Guy?
You gotta find somebody
To take it to the state.
who will take it the rest of the way and not.
So then we're back to writing a stricter law that provides the excuse for the police to come out, but we never prosecute anybody.
You know, the general reaction, both amongst yourselves and then amongst the public.
So what? What's this? I mean, I don't care.
The last
Yes.
meeting,
Yeah.
They had the public hearing on it.
So I wasn't?
No.
When we had 70 people in the audience, were you here for that?
No, that was a
It
long
was
time.
lively.
I was before my term.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's correct.
And then we've had several
So
other
people really were
iterations.
looking to like murder their neighbors because of the noise they were making?
No, just us.
Us.
Just,
Yes,
yeah.
us, they were mad at us for even talking about it.
I mean, the problem, it seems to me the problem has been that every once in a while, a resident suffers because of
Reasonable behavior.
noise, or, you know, that's coming from somewhere. And our problem is that the police will not respond to complaints or calls because we don't have a
Hello?
law. So what do we need to do? We don't, it's all we want, as far as I know, all we want is for residents to be able to use that solution when they need to. And that means we have to have something on the books. Some of the examples I saw were really simple. I can't remember what towns they were, but,
It's because some of them.
you know,
places-
like the state, you know, unreasonable, you know, and it's the police officer who decides whether it's really unreasonable or not.
No, the
Um,
courts decide.
Well, no, not really. I know what you're saying. Now, this isn't gonna go to the courts.
Dear.
Hey, where are you going?
Okay.
Hey,
Can you just get the simplest so he can get past Guy, and he'll bring it to the state?
what does he
we've
have to bring it
spent-
to the state for?
Because it has to be,
What?
see, I think things have
We have lots
changed.
of laws that never go to the state.
Really?
No, they all go, they have to. all
Well, they
be
go,
filed.
but after
Yeah.
we've passed them,
After we what?
pass them.
Right, but once we
Yeah.
pass them.
It goes from us to the state
Yeah.
and then gets sent back to the sheriff's office as this is the new
Oh,
law in
okay,
the town
yeah.
of Danby.
Right.
So they know, they've got a clipboard, and so when they're sent out to Danby, they know what the parameters
Okay.
of what they can
But
do
it
or not
doesn't,
do.
I don't, it doesn't go to get approved, right?
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
it's gotta pass muster, it's gotta,
Right.
yeah,
You
Who
can't,
it's gotta be a
decides?
legal
State.
law,
right,
the state.
you can't. do
Judicial
something That we
system.
say we like and want.
See, Keith.
It's gotta get reviewed to be so that it's constitutional. They have to
Right.
look through the whole thing and just
So I
prove
think
that.
it's probably changed a bit.
How
since
many of our laws does that happen with?
Well, we have old laws.
All of them.
No, I mean,
That
as
most
far
of
as
them
I
are
know,
constitutional.
I mean,
They-
almost
They're not-
everything, almost every law that we pass has got, you know, guys review and, you know, framing, so to speak, so that we know that it's
Well, the
legal and pass
guides-
muster.
So it's already.
but it's, I mean, it just, Mariah sends them on to the state.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Fine.
file. Not that we get an approval or not.
If it's
So-
not constitutional, I think that it
Yeah.
comes back.
Oh,
there
I
is-
mean,
Yeah.
Well, let's go back
I
to
don't-
the decibel thing again. So it might come down to the penalty zone. I mean, can we have like no penalties?
No.
Why would you want to do that?
No, that was something that Guy was talking about, it's illegal.
Can we have minimal penalties?
Sure,
$1.
yeah. You
Right,
can
go ahead. Do that.
$1, $5, $10.
Do the minimum,
who's
with
gonna
the,
charge $1?
well, that's the thing, is that we won't adjudicate it anyway, so it doesn't matter. You understand what I'm saying? So here's the problem. All we want to do is.
Abide by a law where violating it results in a penalty of
But
$1.
it's not about the law. It's about the ability to call the police
Right.
and get them to come out to the house.
Right.
So we really don't care
Right.
about the law in
Not
any way, shape or form.
Not
Like,
true. Not true.
Well, it sounds
The
like,
majority of cases, yes, but we also, if we're writing this law, we need to handle it where somebody is just mean and nasty and is out to get somebody. And won't pay attention. We have to have it, so we have to have it written so it handles that as well.
is that a reality here?
yes, it is. I
Well,
mean, that's
the
what
police would
prompted us in
handle
the
that
first
if
place.
that
It's
Yes.
funny, it's because it's an intractable
so-
problem, that they talked to the neighbor and they just basically said, there's no law, I'm doing whatever damn please. It's like, go jump in the lake. So what do you do in a situation like that? You need something. The interesting thing here was that you found that, the sheriff department, they will come out in the event of but they don't want to get involved in a back and forth with with a recalcitrant neighbor. That's just creating an ongoing problem for people, and that has been
Well,
most of
that's
what
the
we've been
other,
dealing
so
with.
you make sure you're covered your ass for that, so that so you have that option to go take them to court. If this is the third time they go out there to the same house or the same business, he's not going out again. If it's during the day,
This
but
is the
it's
state
the
police.
police. And the third time, it's on the third, we take him to court. And it could be in the document, right? Could it be in the document?
What, there's gonna be a third offense to get taken to court?
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, yeah, you can, right.
or just, it could be, a wink and a nod to Steve over here to take it to court.
I mean, usually it's
What?
first offense is the lower amount.
Yeah,
second
exactly.
offense, it comes up.
No.
I mean, it's
If
the sheriff's.
we adjudicate it, it's done by Steve. He takes it to court. It appears before Gary.
It's not a code and it's not a state law.
I did it.
Well, it depends on where you put it, but I mean, some of the, what you're talking about could be put into our zoning. And then it would be Greg that would be prosecuting
Yeah.
as a zoning violation, not Steve as a
Well,
code
in
violation.
the old days, I did
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was where I thought we were talking about the possibilities of zoning and
Yeah, two different
Some-
things.
yeah.
Yeah,
it might be easier to do it that way. And it hasn't been, and we've had meeting after meeting and law after law after law, and then they've come back from people in the town with, scratched out or rewritten every line. It was, and Warren's been conscientious beyond, researching all sorts of, how many towns, 300 towns
you're
or
probably the
something.
national expert on this
Yes.
matter, but
Yeah. It isn't.
It takes some amount of commitment that we weren't going to get to with that group, in that
There's that much,
There's homework.
too many different opinions.
Yeah,
Well, basically,
yeah,
the two
yeah.
camps, there's the one that we don't need a dome law, we don't, noise law, we don't want one. So
Period.
nothing you propose is going to satisfy these people. It's like, we don't want it. We don't need it. You know, we disagree. We want it. We need it. The question is, what's it going to look like? And that's the hard nut. But, you know, but those people who don't want any noise law and don't want to entertain any possibilities are not going to be mollified no matter what we do.
And we were doing the best that we could to try and meet the people, not just be autocratic. I think that's where we were, and that's what's been very, 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 very challenging.
it's endless
Yeah.
because
Well, they say no, and you can say no just so many times that
Yeah.
your head explodes. But
we're debating philosophy instead of.
Right.
Yes.
My hope was that we could basically say, okay, we're acting as a legislative body. We're going to write a law that we can live with if we need to use it. Then you're gonna vote on it. So it's like, it's not the job of the legislature to vote on it. The legislature
Oh, you
has to
put it
come
up
up with
for
a good
public.
law.
you're gonna put it up to the public.
Oh, not,
can't do
or at least the town board, you know, but the panel isn't, the panel is just impaneled to act like the legislature and we're just gonna make a good law. That didn't happen last time.
Right.
And for
Last night,
Last time.
last time,
Oh.
Fine.
last time around with this, there needs to be a group of people who are all assuming that
We need
the
somebody.
intent of this gathering is to produce the best law we can and we can live with. Then, whether the board votes yes or no that's in your court. Right? But at least to separate those two things, not this assumption that we're creating a law and it's going to be the de facto law and you're done. No, but you know, you want to create something that covers the most bases, that is going to stand the test of the law. And then we hand it over and we're cool. But that's going to demand folks who want to do the homework, who are willing to be open-minded enough to say, okay, let's craft a good law, but let's not have arguments every day about whether we need one at all.
Mhm.
Had Guy seen that draft?
Which.
Yeah, I've sat down with Guy and we've gone through
What did he say about
back
that
and
draft?
forth
The last draft that I saw anyway,
that he sent or I sent. The one that I sent, just he thought had massive holes in it.
Yeah.
And was missing way,
And it
way,
was the
way
one
too
that we
much.
liked. Yeah.
And so the one that he came back with sort of filled in those holes.
did it seem that your sense of the law was compromised by his additions?
It was laden. It had a lot in it, and I have since read way too many words when it comes to due process. And so I understand some of what he was saying. I think there's a middle ground in there.
Yeah.
I think that Guy is extremely thorough, and he just wants to make sure that anything that could come at us, there's a defense for it. And so he's really trying to cover every single eventuality.
Yep, that's got a little bit.
Maybe there's something that's a couple of degrees down from that, so that we can move away from me squishiness. And a lot of what I wrote in that came out of that group that we had the first time, trying to strip out everything. Absolutely everything, and still have something that could be called the law. It basically had nothing in it. That's the problem.
Right.
We stripped out so much that we weren't attending to due process. We really didn't lay out this, if you do this, this is gonna happen. And so there has to be a little bit more of that. And we also have to determine, there was some vagary about 7 or 9 or 9 and 11, and what is end of day, what is weekend, what is, you know, some of this stuff really has to get worked out about. It's a big thing when there's a lot of homes being built around here. What you tell a contractor when they can start and when they have to shut it down, it's pretty important. And so there are all sorts of opinions about what that was, and it's like, you gotta pick one. So there needs to be a group of people that say, okay, really, we gotta go in the weeds and we've got to make some decisions and some bullet points. This group would be, the group that I'm talking about in paneling, it's action statements. It's only action statements. It's not debate. It's not philosophy. It's not whatever. It's just like, okay, this, and this. And then we can sort of get there.
But ultimately, it comes down to this, and this are not okay. And by what means do you judge that? You know, you're talking about an objective standard versus a subjective one, right?
This is what we're talking about kind of like right now. We're still on the subjective noise law, which goes to the sheriff.
Mhm.
That's sort of like one path and one set of tasks. And that requires the real vagary in that was the first paragraph. And that first paragraph basically says, what is unnecessary? What is excessive? What is this? What is this time appropriate? It basically lays out what can you do and when is it appropriate? And that's that very first paragraph. The other stuff about, oh, it's okay to do this because it's covered in the DEC law. You can't fire within however many feet of a house anyway. And so you can't do that. And it's a right to farm state, and they'll take care of this and take all that. You know, that stuff is all kind of mutable and you can sort of do that. But what we really got tripped up on is that paragraph 1. What is the definition of?
Unreasonable.
So it sounds like you gotta come back to us.
Well,
with
it's not
the-
like it was
asking-
The
piano,
document you
Yeah,
wanna do.
right?
I just want to be able to have a group that's interested in writing the law,
The
not,
question is,
not
can
just-
we
not just
find
one.
people willing to serve on such a panel?
it's not about deciding whether we need a law or not, no.
Yeah, we're kind of done with that.
Or we can decide that we don't want a law after we've crafted a really good law. But right now, the
Mhm.
only exercise we're talking about is crafting a good law that we think is going to serve most people, not mess up their lives or not curtail their lives,
Yeah.
not whatever, but something that is lawful and constitutional and represents what we do here, you know? We're kind of a
Community
Weird.
standard kind of thing.
we're kind of a farming, but not kind of, you know, artist farming, whatever community arts thing, with maybe a little bit shifted from just saying it's an because there's plenty of hamlets and ordinances where it's very clear about agricultural stuff, and then other stuff that feels more city and metropolitan, and you can feel that in, you know,
In the law.
in how you read them and stuff. And so we just got to figure out, what is Danby? What is the character of Danby?
Take a shot, man.
You gonna help?
I don't know.
What do you mean
Tonight,
you don't know?
I'm just, it seems
He
like
needs a
they're
couple
like this
people.
close.
We're really close, but what I said to Joel was, I don't want to be that guy.
No, it's not fair.
Right.
It's
I-
it's definitely not fair. I
Right.
would help.
Okay, good.
There just should be another set of eyes on this, just to say,
Yes.
yeah, but have you thought about, you know, that kind of thing,
Mhm.
to just,
Well, we could solicit interest in the town news, see who's out there.
Oh, let's not do that.
Let's
Just
not do
pick
that again.
somebody.
We
Put
already did
Steve
that.
on. Come on, Steve, step up, man. You're the enforcer anyway.
He's not the enforcer of a noise law. That's the law.
No, but he's like our currently most, he's looking away, he's looking at his shoes. Zach, baby Zach.
Well, there's Greg.
And Greg, sit with Greg, do it with Greg. They're
Why
all
aren't you
reasonable.
volunteering?
But it's not in the zoning. If you want to do that, we need to look at it in the zoning.
Oh, but that might come up.
yeah, we've got two things going on,
Right.
where I think that one is objective and one is subjective.
Paul says he would help.
Yeah, that's like as Leslie said, Paul would help. Well, I'll do it.
I can.
I
think
would
of-
love to sit with you guys. You guys are really, Pat's great, you're great. I'll sit with you.
I think it'd be nice if we had a couple of people that haven't been involved at all.
Yeah.
And I can think maybe
Oh,
Marty
Marty.
Lacy. No, there's not in the town business. I mean,
Yeah.
like Marty Lacy.
Mhm.
I might be able to say, would
So
you?
he just knocked me back off again. Cool.
No, I didn't knock you off.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
It sounded like it to me too.
No,
Yeah.
I said not just
Oh, not just,
town
no.
people, not, I mean, I think that the idea is to get people who have not been embroiled in this, and if they were to look at these ideas of what is this noise? I don't even know what the noise is. Oh, I'll show you what the noise is. Oh my God, that's terrible. Or really? That's what we're worried about? But I think that's what Warren's talking about. Actually getting a chance to experience
Yeah.
that thing that you were saying you might be able to help
Yeah,
people
but it's still not
experience.
the point, is that the DB level has nothing to do with what we want to do.
I think it
Okay.
does
But it
with,
has to be in there because
with
God
the
said it
zoning.
has to be in there.
I think it has to do with zoning. I think zoning will benefit from an objective standard. You can have both the subjective and an objective standard. We know that the sheriff wants nothing to do with objectivity, nothing. They just want to be able to go out.
But they don't
and-
go out and enforce zoning anyway, so.
Yeah, and they just want to be able to come out and say, dude, done.
Yeah. I know.
Just cut it off. That's all they want to do. Really, truly, they want nothing more
But the
complicated
other
than that.
thing they want is that all the towns have similar laws, because it's a pain in the ass for them to go out in
Right.
every town and have different things to look at in different places, so.
They wanted us to adopt the same one that City of Ithaca has.
Yeah, and then I called the
Not the
city,
town,
I
the
called
city.
Lansing, and Lansing said, no way, we don't even have one, we're not. I mean, it was the person in the town said, forget it.
Yeah.
That's what
When I
basically what
happened
they
in
said,
Newfield,
forget
too.
it. Yeah,
Sort of backed off, said, well, use the state law. No,
and that's not.
The
There
state
is-
law
there is
doesn't
none.
Work,
The
right?
state law doesn't apply,
no, but they thought it did,
Yeah.
so there was a good excuse to sort of back away from
does
it.
not apply.
Yeah.
I called the state police,
Yes,
it does not apply, but they will also not enforce a local law.
yeah, so, well, they're basically saying, we no help at all.
Yeah,
Right.
it's only the sheriff's office.
Typically, they call the sheriff. They're
Yeah.
supposed to call
Yeah.
the sheriff anyway. And the state police will tell you to call the sheriff. So,
And we understand the sheriff's office is short-staffed, et cetera, so these things are much easier and the people in the town know. That's one of the things we've talked about, like, Steve's got the code book that's so thick, but people don't even know. And so if we have something that can eventually be published, here is what Danby says about noise. Here is what Danby says about, I don't know, dog
Smells.
licenses, what?
About smells,
Yes.
if you have
Yeah,
odors
Okay,
emanating from
Boy.
either an
Oh, man.
agricultural or
That's
an
not
We're
industrial
not
place.
doing that. I
Yeah,
don't care if you bought property next to a pig farm, you bought property next to a pig farm.
I think it was
I'm
the,
sorry, but
well, you
There's
see
no
how
odor.
thick this
Holy
is,
no.
right?
Yeah, it's-
Immediately,
On it smells.
you have a pig farm. next
Exactly.
to you?
No, not
yeah,
yet.
I have pigs next door to me and occasionally the
smell
smell,
like
but
that.
if you want to talk seriously, just so it's not completely crazy. La Tourelle Firelight Camps is in the town of Ithaca. The smoke comes directly through to my house. I find for a long time, we went driving around to see whose house was on fire. It's it's those little campfires
Oh,
and it comes through and
Yeah. what are you gonna do about
It
it?
doesn't respect.
well, I
the-
fortunately am able to close my windows, but. So, we learn as the other side of all of this is, we live with it. Or it's our choice not to stay
Where we are.
living in it,
Yeah.
you can move, or we can have a big fight and that gets us nowhere.
Okay, where are we?
Of having a group of people.
So,
yeah, the ability to impanel something, and we are very close. You are correct. You are intuiting that we are close. There's been stuff that's paraphrased and pulled from hundreds of other noise laws and ordinance and stuff. It's sitting there. It literally is going to take a couple of people to say,
yes, no, yes.
we'll go around, I really like this one. I like the preamble here. I like this one here. I like this one here. I like this one here.
How many people you want in this panel?
12,
No,
I don't know.
4.
It's a couple of folks, I just
Gotta be an odd number.
desperately don't want it to be a philosophical
Great
debate.
time.
Yeah, yeah,
I-
no, we need a group of people willing to work
200.
on. coming up with
Yes.
something.
Really?
The foregone conclusion is,
Yeah.
we're trying to make a law,
Right,
not whether
We're
we should
not-
make a law.
Right,
trying not to not make,
right.
Right. So, well, so far, we've got you and Pat and Paul
Oh, am I on it? Are you
Yeah,
sure?
so far.
Okay.
Mhm.
What about Steve?
Stephen,
He shakes his head.
Mhm.
There's nobody else here in the room that we can get to say unless you guys want to do it.
Well,
I don't think we should.
I'm always.
We don't
willing
have
to-
to. We limit
Mark,
ourselves to 15
Mark can
minutes.
call me anytime and say, would you please come over and listen to this? And because we know of which we speak intimately from that experience.
Catherine's
And I-
suggestion was that somebody that is not here.
I know, we should. What are we gonna, like, how do you do that?
Well, I'm gonna ask, seriously, if nobody objects, I'll ask Marty Lacy. There's fewer people who see him. He's a very even keeled guy and he might say, sure, I'll listen to stuff.
Okay?
He might say no.
Then-
He lives near
okay.
you.
He does.
Yeah.
We can't have everybody on this side of the town, but that's fine.
Well, yeah, I can.
Find someone and anybody, find a body for us, please.
He'll probably say no to me, but I'll see if I can twist his arm.
Yeah.
At least to,
And we
Initially,
can tend to go
experience.
with a 3-person panel in the event that we can't find somebody else.
Well, what if Marty is not interested, what
1, 2,
about,
3, 4.
what about Rich Curtis? He was definitely interested in,
Rich is awesome.
yeah,
Yeah,
Right. And
I think, I mean, he was in,
really.
he was, at the beginning of the whole effort.
There you go.
And
Let's
it
just
might be
say that.
nice to,
What's wrong with that? He makes him, I'm doing a great job.
Here,
I
you've
make
been
him laugh-
volunteering.
Keep him laughing. Is that right? The guy's interested, right?
oh, yeah, and he's,
Oh.
I mean, he's a police officer.
Oh, good.
And he was one of the people who originated the desire to
You're
have
talking about
Danby
doing
have a
this
noise.
relatively
level.
soon,
So-
right?
Hmm?
Yeah,
Oh,
Soon.
we can just
Yeah, at
get-
some point.
We're good at that, right?
get to
Yeah.
it, so to speak. The in-person stuff can be limited, because a lot of this is really just pushing. It's like, okay, we're gonna break this up in pieces. And let's handle the first piece. What do you think of this? Out of choice 1 through 8, does this work? And then, so that's the noise law part.
Cool.
mhm,
So do we have a
And
committee?
then there's an ordinance part.
mhm.
Yeah.
So before I let the polecat tail go, is the ordinance part that I think that we've got to deal with the land use thing.
In which case, it seems like Greg would be a good one to have on group. As much as he's got plenty of other things to do, but if you're talking about, incorporating into our zoning law, it's hard to imagine him not being involved.
Mhm.
He and I have spoken,
Mhm.
and there was a little bit of like, well, I think Guy is gonna be able to answer that, and Guy is just like, I think Greg is gonna be able to answer that. Like, it doesn't apply with. So there's a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But yes, we can at least start somewhere.
Mhm.
And I can pull stuff that's more zoning like than
Huh.
law like.
But you're looking at both products, not
It's
just. the-
kind of two, and I do think, I don't know how you could get away with a subjective zoning law. I can't even imagine. Like, what would that even look like? It wouldn't,
Mhm.
you have no legs to stand on. But if somebody does have a wood processing place and they're
Yeah,
75
the
feet
thing
from
with
the
that
ends.
zoning is the design standards. Get some flexibility there, but, so it's a little squishy.
Yeah.
In terms of here's what we're looking for, but, how you implement it is subject to interpretation, preference and so forth. So there's some of that, it's not entirely prescriptive. There's even stuff in the code that's not entirely prescriptive, ways and ways. If you can show us another way to accomplish the objective, we can entertain it.
Mhm. And this is also, I alluded to this, the sense of like, when you're in civil court as opposed to state or federal court,
Mhm.
things are, a little squishier.
Mhm.
And because this is an ordinance and a code in a town, and it doesn't have to be at the same standards as in, it's just not that expensive to have a decibel meter and a calibrator. It's just not that much money these days. It's not like thousands and thousands of dollars, it's it's $200. And I can set you up with a rig or give you one of my old ones. It's just not that complicated. And so you can go out there and you can have a more objective law. And I don't think somebody's going to come back with an expert witness from NASA and argue a zoning thing with you. You know, I think you have both legs you can stand on and say, hey, dude. And again, nobody wants to really adjudicate these things. It's really about, so call me up. It's like, this thing keeps happening and we've got this problem between this thing. So literally call me up. I'll go out to the site and say, just have them close the garage door. Drops at 40 decibels, doesn't carry. Don't work with the garage door open and get a mini split. Okay, done, son, you know, whatever. It's like, but at least you can go into a mitigation conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, without that, you can't
Put
do.
a muffler in your ATV.
Yeah, something, whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
there's probably a way that you can drop it 30 or 40 decibels, and we can be done with this. We don't have to sue you or whatever.
Yeah, and I think what we're really aware of is that most people, it will never ever see anything like this being needed. Most people learn to get along and say, okay, so you're gonna work on, you wanna make your lumber for your house, and tomorrow I have to do something. Can you just not run it for this hour or these 3 hours? I mean, lots of people learn a lot of tolerance once they just recognize that we're all in this together. It's only those very few that have happened that have been,
Yeah.
I mean, the Howland Road thing, that might have been stopped with zoning.
Mhm.
So that's, yeah.
So even just defining that and the squishiness with, well, it's a right to farm thing. It's like, well, US agriculture, yeah, and where they come down states, and that's still mushy. It's not
Mhm.
like,
Well, we argue it was an industrial activity and
yeah,
not agriculture.
right. But yeah,
Fortunately, the problem went away because, you know, the market collapsed.
Yeah.
It's
guy was actually a little, well, he didn't think the industrial argument was really gonna work. So I think there's just some non-clarity there, and that could be cleaned up with the zoning. There could just literally just be a line that just alludes to it, and we know what it is, and we all agree on it, and
Mhm.
just an objective line.
So far, we have a committee that consists of Pat and Paul, and a couple of other possibilities, including Rich, Curtis, Greg, and Marty Lacy. Should we just ask them, see who's willing, and then go with it? Or should we keep trying, you know, to fill it out with more people, or is that enough people without it? If they say-
You don't want it to
say
get
no, we're okay,
too
right?
big.
You don't want
I
to
think
be-
we need to be careful. The reason for Greg was not everything in the law, and particularly Greg needs to be involved with the
Zoning
zoning
part,
part.
yeah.
So I don't think we want to
Yeah.
force him to do everything,
Yeah,
because
Right.
there are two separate paths. So
Mhm.
so he's not really on the committee as a whole,
This
unless
first,
we divide it into two pieces.
there could be that this is one group that's doing one assignment. And there could be that second assignment there could be adjusted membership depending on what it is. Like,
In
I'm
fact-
terrible about reading laws. I mean,
I would think that you would want to have the same people because they're gonna be, you know, educating themselves about the matter, and you want them to say, well, you apply it in this case this way, and in this case this another way, but really you don't have to start from square one, you know, with a different.
But I think in terms of the zoning, it would make sense for Greg to have input, because we're now talking about what Greg needs.
Mhm,
That's not our jobs. He knows what he can do and what he needs.
mhm.
I think Greg should provide the input. Maybe Greg can work with you and then see if we need more.
we've talked. It needs to, yeah, it needs to be compelled to a different layer of just saying, in, you know, what's appropriate for rural one, what's appropriate for rural two, what's appropriate for,
Hey, but it's a handler.
yeah, right. It's like, what thresholds are gonna be appropriate for what situation? What do you, and again, like the rules of the poker game before you start betting. It's that sense, it's that first paragraph. It's deciding like, what is unnecessary noise to us? What is excessive noise to us? And what is appropriate and all that kind of stuff. And we could, right out of the gate, it's those defining things are gonna be needed in anything we do.
Mhm. Right.
It's just not fun.
So,
Would you be willing to convene and run,
Direct, basically.
direct or be the chair of this thing?
That makes sense. So I move that we create a panel, chaired by Morgan, consisting of Pat and Paul, and Greg as needed, and a couple of others if they want, if they're willing, including Marty Lacy and Rich Curtis,
I thought Greg wasn't gonna be on it, it was gonna be Rich.
As needed.
as needed.
Yes, needed, you
Okay.
can say it.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Any
Further
discussion?
discussion?
Are we good to vote on it? Okay, Mariah.
Okay, I just want to create a panel. I'm sorry, what is the objective? What is the goal here? Create a
Come up with
panel.
Come up with a proposal for dealing with noise. Either, it could be one of two things, but, or both. Either the noise law specifically, revisions to our zoning code to incorporate noise provisions.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Connors,
Yes,
Hanson,
Yes,
Hunter,
Yes,
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Awesome.
they work it out for you. And I really appreciate your willingness to take it
I
on.
know, really.
so
we're
what do you do
close.
with all that now?
Yeah,
Yes, and now he's a national expert on noise laws.
Cool.
Yeah,
thanks, Mel.
thanks.
I will
Again.
be in touch.
yeah.
Sorry I
close.
ever
We're
ran into
really
you in.
So you're not the guy with the baseball bat.
No,
Yeah,
he's waiting for you.
okay, on to the next thing.
Right, you gotta wait for me
Is
to
that
have
your
my
house?
gun. No, this is for you, Joel. Zachary has them, these are our neighbors. And I gave it to you, Raphael, and what's his name, you got copies of it. It's up to you if you wanna do anything with it.
What are we talking about tonight?
Yeah.
Raphael is the owner of the house next door,
Door.
and what's?
Oh,
the-
that next door here.
Yeah, which is really controlled by, what's his name?
Chris Yuko.
Muka.
Yeah. Let's get on to the next thing, junk and code enforcement discussion. This was precipitated, you recall, a number of people have complained about the lack of enforcement of property maintenance standards. And because we are to collectively the administrator of the town, it's a matter for the board to set policy regarding this. And ask Steve to come, so we'd have, include him in the discussion. What are we willing to do to address this issue?
What you do?
Is the question.
Don't we have a
Sounds like
policy?
another panel.
Well, we got law,
Mhm.
but they have to be enforced.
And we have to have a place to start, like, where do you start? Do we start with, do we say we want to start with
Well, we got some
Neglected
cases that have been
houses.
outstanding for long.
houses that are falling down? I mean, some of them, we start with the most,
Egregious example.
yeah, and the one that's, they're pretty, might be pretty direct.
Come on, Steve, take the hot seat, will you?
Mhm.
You're not gonna like chime in on this at all? I mean, generally, code enforcement officers work from this point of complaint. If somebody complains,
Right,
that's when they go out and they take a look at it. Dude. Show me your chops.
Yeah, pull up a chair.
So in my filing cabinets, I have maybe a quarter of a drawer of recorded complaints from past code officers, all included at the Susan, Matt, right up the line, that have been acted on and then dropped
Mhm.
because they go nowhere.
Well, they go to court.
They go to court, possibly.
I got it as far as court.
And they go to court if the people show up for court. You know, the case gets tried or whatever, and if they are fined, which the judge has the right to do because our laws do have fines in them. From what I'm seeing, the people don't pay their fines. And the court has no way to make them pay their fines. The court cannot, and it's my understanding, the court cannot order them to clean it up. The court cannot direct the town to clean it up using town employees and town equipment. Because there's nothing in our laws that provide for that. I am told that there is a way to collect fines by adding it to your property taxes. And your property taxes cannot be paid until the fines are collected. So let's say you have a $3,500 tax bill, which would be amazing if you had one that small. You come to the window to pay your taxes and you came with $3,500 cash or a $3,500 check. Technically, the town clerk or the tax collector would have to know that you have fines against your property, number one. Number two, she would have to know that she can't collect taxes until those fines are paid. Number three, that makes an irate citizen because they can't pay the taxes, and it puts all in the tax collector's face. So I don't know if that is the answer. I've been told that the boards of the past have talked to Guy about adding this law in, and he has told them it's doable, but it's a lot of work. To what? Add a law to collect fines before paying your taxes.
Oh. Well, the water district, you know, unpaid water bills get assessed every year.
They do, and I don't know how that happens other than it's in the law maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't pay your water bill, it gets added on, and there's multiple people that they don't pay their bill. They just pay it when they pay their taxes.
Right.
So I don't know all the ins and outs of that because I haven't been part of it. It's not been discussed since I've been here. It's just what I'm going on hearsay and things I've read.
Maybe there's something we should talk to Guy about. Whether we.
May I ask?
I'm sorry, Mariah?
Well, in order for the tax collector to know that someone has a fine, they would have to be on their assessment.
Yeah, I mean, the way the water bills work is it's added to their bill so that you're collecting the whole thing. If we had a similar mechanism, you know, it would appear, and they would know, and they wouldn't just find out when they went to pay their taxes that there's an additional, you know, lien on their property that they have to pay off first before they can pay their taxes.
Right, it would have to, whenever bills are, I know there's a process where they go to the county and so on and so forth, and then they come here. That fine would have to be added on. So that when the bills are printed by the county, it appears on the bill.
It's included, yeah.
Right.
Is there a process for sorry, apologize for this, to get the town to do the cleanup? Because I've heard that story before.
Well, with regard to housing, like if you have a place
That town can demolish a house, it's unsafe.
Yeah, we've never used
Oh.
that.
Oh, yeah, we
Oh,
have.
yeah, we have.
In my memory, we've done it at least 4 times.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do believe the unsafe building law states that if the owner, well, I don't know if the owner refuses to, but if the town deems the building unsafe,
Yeah.
I believe the town can then either have the highway department or an outside contractor come in and knock it down, haul it away,
And it becomes a lien on the property.
and it becomes a lien on the property,
Yeah.
which you may or may not ever get back.
Right, it used to be that, and sometimes these were properties that are not very big, you know, the cost of demolition exceeds the value of the property. And then, the county used to eat the difference, you know, they would make the town whole regardless. But they changed that policy a few years ago so that, you know, they'll give you whatever's left over after, you know, the tax, liabilities satisfied. If it's possible even to do that. So, you know, we could go out on a limb and take a place down, but then we might end up stuck with the bill.
The other thing that I see is on some of these derelict properties and actually properties that I've gotten complaints about where there are rental properties. The property owner's address is that property, but they don't live there.
Mhm.
So all you can do is send them a letter to that address that they never get.
Mhm. In other words, the owner, how do they get their tax bills? Because I mean, the address for the owner of record is how
They claim they never get it.
Mhm.
So let me just go back a minute.
Be on the
So you're not,
tax bill.
you're not opposed to like taking down, you know, derelict buildings?
Depends on the situation, I guess.
Cause it's a big hole.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got to get this, you have the skills. You don't have a dozer, but you got front loaders.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to have the equipment to do it, we'd have to, could borrow a piece of equipment to do it, but you'd have to have an excavator or something with a thumb on it. It's, you know, then if you're dealing with something that's you know, with asbestos or something, and you're next to a neighbor's house,
Mhm.
there's a very specific way in demolition.
So asbestos is a problem.
It is.
I mean, a big
although,
problem,
you know, the
because
city,
You can deal with as, but if if the house is not safe to enter, so if it's not safe to request an asbestos survey, you can still demolish the house by wetting down the structure as you crush it
Cool,
and keeping the asbestos,
that's great,
theoretically keeping the asbestos,
within that
yeah.
confinement.
right?
Yeah.
And then you have to put it in a covered container, so a covered dump truck or a covered dumpster. And it's, I believe if it's unknown as to asbestos, it has to go to a landfill that accepts asbestos.
Oh, mhm.
So I
Which-
think Seneca Meadows is the closest one.
Which one is?
Seneca Meadows.
Seneca Meadows, so that your trucking cost
Yeah,
compared to Seneca County,
It's expensive.
Very expensive. A homeowner can get rid of it, but,
a homeowner can get rid of it themselves if they know.
yeah.
right.
You know, the outward. The outward appearing things that have asbestos are siding, the old
Yeah,
asbestos
right.
shingles.
Right.
Right.
Those are pretty much all gone now.
Mhm. Well,
There's probably a few around still.
there's still some. Mhm.
What people don't realize is there was asbestos, not so much in pipe covering in homes like there is in pipe covering in old commercial buildings, but there is asbestos in floor tile,
Worked out.
the mastic in the floor tile, the window glazing, maybe insulation, depending on what it was.
Mhm.
Plaster
Sometimes asbestos and vermiculite.
older plaster has asbestos in it.
Really?
Well, that would be plaster.
Are you in charge of?
I mean, what the other towns do, I mean, I mean, what I'm thinking of is, and maybe this doesn't make a lot of sense, but that if we, you know, started a program, I mean, I know that's, I'm aware of some of the buildings that people, you know, we've gone after and then hit a wall. You know, I'm especially thinking about the two Ridgecrests at the corner of Nelson. The two little houses, not the other vacant one, and then the new vacant one on that corner. But I know there was a problem with those two little ones. But I mean, to start like from ground zero and try and go after these people, there's sometimes money for what do they call them? Zombie property. You know, sometimes there's money that towns could
Dip into.
get, you know, money.
Yeah, I think there may be grant money available for zombie property.
Right, so if we had, you know, the new attempts, because I know that one on Ridgecrest, that was years ago. And it, you know, they're both single story, I mean, they're already fallen in, I mean,
From what I've seen in the demolition permits that I do get, because
Yeah.
I get one or two a
Yeah.
year, somebody, eventually somebody.
right,
Like the standoff house on Hornbrook Road,
Uh-huh.
Joe
Yeah, right.
Petrocola finally cleaned that
Oh,
up.
Right.
yeah, yeah.
right,
The burnout house on Bruce Hill,
yeah,
they're working on, they have a demolition permit, and the owners are working on taking that
Yeah.
down themselves.
yeah,
And it was Evelyn Hendricks' house.
Evelyn's house, yes, the one on the corner of Heisey Road and 96 is up for sale.
right,
I've had a call on that about, can I buy it, knock it down and put a new house there?
yeah.
The answer is yes.
So, I mean.
I know there's a
something-
lot of them out there that have been there a long time, but it seems in the short time that I've been here, some of them are working their way
Right, right.
away on their own.
Right, and that's great, and those aren't necessarily the ones that you're getting
Right.
complaints about. But I've been here for 25 years, and those houses on the corner of Ridgecrest and Nelson have been vacant since then.
I know I got a phone call from the owner of one of them that said it was back on his radar, but that was a year ago. I haven't heard anything from him since.
Yeah.
Was that the red one?
I'm not sure which one it was.
Anyway, and now the other house on the other, there's a garage and then a house that's now vacant also. But I just, whether we have a little committee that like writes letters or knocks on doors, if we can't get the addresses, those tax records, they have addresses.
Well, yeah, because say
So,
there's
I
an
mean,
owner of
there's a
record,
way.
and it's an address.
There is
that's
a,
where
Right.
they mail
there's
the
a
tax bill.
process.
We
It
can-
takes like
we can
6 to
get it.
9
But I'm
months.
just thinking if we start anew, forget about all the failures and the people who don't answer and the guy with all the, compost in his front yard. Who knows what else is over there?
There's a file on him.
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
all attempted.
Okay,
Um,
you know,
there's that one, obviously next door.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the one on the corner of Michigan
Yep.
Hollow and 96B.
right,
That one is a perfect example where the owners have that address as their address because Paul sent them
right,
letters and they were returned undeliverable.
yeah,
And he went and posted the house and
Did I really?
I think the post might still be on the front door. I'm not sure, so faded you can't read it, so.
yeah. But I,
He went, I mean, I
you-
guess, I don't know, maybe
you
I'm
should-
too practical.
yeah,
He went through all the steps he was supposed to do
Yeah.
and got zero outcome, and now you're asking me to repeat it.
yeah,
Why? It's a
Well-
waste of time and money.
not
Well,
really,
the
I
difference
mean,
is
if
that
we
we
have a
didn't-
record,
Nobody from the town would go out and take them down at that point. If we have the town on board to actually take
well,
it
to be able
down.
to get money, to get grants, we'd need to be able to say, there are these properties, the owners say, go ahead, take it down if you want, and if we have it on record that we've attempted,
You gotta get them to reply to you. That's,
Uh-huh.
that's
Yeah.
half of the battle.
right, right, Right.
It's like the whole thing too. I've had a couple, just in the last week, I had one phone call from a member of the fire department wanting to know how come we weren't posting these buildings with the big red and white signs.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
And I said, because I put together a list and told the town board how many signs I needed and how much it was gonna cost to do it, and it hit a brick wall.
You're kidding.
I remember him creating a wall, but
Well, it didn't go anywhere. You didn't buy my signs.
I remember being asked.
Put it on the agenda for
Yeah,
next.
I
time.
remember
you-
it being a topic.
You wanted to get all together and make the signs here on the tables.
I'd do that. Yeah,
But even to buy the materials to do that is a
cost.
couple, $3,000.
Really?
Mhm.
The plastic signboard is not cheap and the reflective tape. You have to buy 4x8 sheets of it. You have to have the tools to cut it down.
I
But even
don't know.
then
know,
you
it
have
feels
10 or
like-
12 houses around town that have a big red sign on it.
right,
Yeah.
All that did is tell the fire department, don't go in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
And they're not gonna go in there anyway unless they think there's someone in there to rescue.
yeah,
If they had a report of seeing someone enter the building
yeah,
or
sure, it
something.
could be people sleeping in those buildings.
There could be. I don't think we're quite at that point in Danby yet where we have vagrants sleeping in abandoned houses, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
It's not like when I was a kid where teenagers go and look for vacant houses to party on. Teenagers
Or
don't do
just to
that.
see what's in there. I remember doing that.
Me too. Wasn't no motion then either.
Still, let's think in terms of the code enforcement officer. So he has to go through the process, right?
Yeah.
Some of that process has already been done by prior guys. But the question then is, he needs to be able to mark these houses. And then the question is, what do we do with that at that point? So somewhere the law falls on its face.
And we have to be able to, in the end, say, you know, if you don't do it, we're gonna do it.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Which is what we've done in the past. I mean, that's what happened with Benjamin's One Stop, is what happened with Margaret Adams' house in West Danby. You know, it was like the Grange Hall, all those were like, you know, either you do it, we're gonna do it, and we ended up doing it.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of the guy with the compost.
Big red sign on the front of a house might get the homeowner's attention.
That's
Right.
what I think. I'm thinking that
Right.
it doesn't just get the homeowner's attention.
Gets
It gets
everybody's
other
attention.
people and they stop saying, what's wrong with your code officer? He's not doing anything. And gives, you know, Steve,
Bad
it wouldn't
name.
hurt to have a little support for, you know, effort and a little recognition that there. And then one of the things that can happen is when Keith sat here and said about how much it costs to do this one little road, it wasn't just us who heard it. It's on the video. It's heard. And these things that you just said are heard. I think that partly that's what has to happen. People, it's very easy to ignore a lot of things. I mean, I drive by that house on West Miller all the time. And today I looked and saw he's now letting a whole bunch of stuff grow up so you can't see it, but that doesn't change the fact of what
There's all this stuff.
his neighbor who has worries about rats, you know, it doesn't change it, but a sign or something in that case is the house isn't demolishable or whatever, but other people see it and say, wait a minute, Danby actually is doing something.
Yeah, but that property wouldn't warrant a
I
sign.
know,
It's-
that
No,
I just used the.
No, I mean, that may be somebody that like, do you need help? You know, well, you know, we have highway trucks if there's not roads being, you know, I mean, you know,
Well,
maybe we need to help somebody
Don't look
actually
at
do
him.
something.
I think we gotta look at us because
Yeah.
we gotta say,
he just
okay,
said.
we
would
can do
help.
2 houses a year, you know, at $7,000 a piece. And we have to be able to allocate that
Right.
money to actually take these places
right.
down.
But
the-
it's not all taking down. Some of it's just cleaning up.
Some of it
I
is,
mean-
but
Yeah, I mean,
there's
there's
plenty of
issues.
taking
There
down.
are derelict houses, but there's also, you know, this property maintenance issues.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Junk.
only a couple
Yeah.
that are really bad.
Some of it, right over here on Bald Hill Road, the absentee landlord is using it as his junk collection. You know, there's
Uh,
5 or 6 cars with no plates, there's a backhoe out back, there's a camper. You know, the garage is jammed
I mean,
right full of
those are all
stuff.
things that are,
Um,
yeah,
there's a one on Ridgecrest Road that I get continuous complaints about,
yeah. The dump.
junk, they haul in junk cars, they pile their garbage up, they.
It still comes to the same basic question. It's gonna cost money.
If we, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
If we were to get into a rear situation where our house needed to be demolished, we would definitely help out a highway. Sometimes those things are a big undertaking for some people, but we can make it happen really, really quick. However, when it comes to these houses with garbage and stuff inside of them, we're not gonna get involved with it, I can tell you that right now. There's so many things, I've been in these types of houses. There's health risk in there.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're getting into.
Right.
Well, might have
yeah.
left grandma in the
Inside
basement.
the house is not our worry. What
Yeah.
people wanna put in their house is their business.
Yeah, I'm not
Right.
thinking of the
Even
outside.
outside.
It blows over to the
I'm
outside.
talking about the outside.
Just that.
A public-
Yeah,
a public-
it's all,
Picking up
Can-
garbage
Can you
and
please
stuff.
repeat what the person in the public had to say and identify them?
Yeah, that was
That's not
Keith.
clearly audible here.
That's Keith.
never mind. So,
Yeah, Keith offered to help and they better go on to
Yeah.
take places down.
I just, you know, if we could go after some money for some of this stuff, including signs, you know, I think we need to have
But for the junk law enforcement, I
No,
don't think it's a
we,
matter of getting
you
grants.
know, these people were contacted and they blew us off, or they said they can't afford it, or they can, you know, they'll do it in 5 years, or, you know, just something. Or we can't, I know I've seen grants for things like that. Maybe I'll look to see what they're asking for.
So I can send letters to the properties that I've gotten complaints about and see if it goes anywhere. I can contact a gentleman over that works for the city of Elmira, who I believe when he started for them, he was their zombie code officer.
Yeah, the
And
zombies,
see
yeah.
if I can pick his brain about, are there, you know, grants available to help with these properties?
Yeah,
I'm almost positive they are, but I think they're more geared towards the larger
Yeah, right.
metropolitan areas than they are about the smaller rural areas.
I mean, the Association of Towns always, their annual meeting, they always have a zombie property workshop, and they're usually talking about smaller towns, so I don't, you know,
You can happen.
I'll check with the Association of
Okay.
Towns.
I'm gonna write that down. Leslie's looking into it. But what about the, you know, basically the junk law?
Yeah,
Is that an issue for enforcement?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking me. Is that an issue for enforcement?
Well, I mean, we have a junk law.
Yeah,
It's got some sort of provision in for enforcement. I don't remember what it was, but,
yeah.
and is that, and I'm asking, is that an issue? Only because, I'm wondering, you know, is it, we've tried to use it and there's a problem with, it doesn't work?
That's what it
or is
sounds
Or
like.
is it,
Yeah.
or just we haven't done it?
So I know for sure of one or two places that we've tried to use it,
Yeah.
that it, you know, it doesn't go anywhere. They either ignore your letters or,
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
you know, the first thing I think of was if I had a property like that and I saw a letter from the town, hell no, I'm not going to post office and sign for it.
yeah.
Cause you send it certified mail,
Yeah, right.
the town, oh, I'm not going, oh. Then it comes back and the files are full of them that came back. I've even thought about being sneaky and sending them a FedEx package. Like, I don't remember what did I order? And then you open
Right.
it up. And if they have to sign for it, then you at least know they got it, but.
Mhm.
That's not a bad idea.
Right.
If you send it by regular mail, you don't know whether they got it or not, because there's no, you know, there's no,
That's what
in
he's
fact, that
saying.
it didn't bounce back, means probably they did, but they don't necessarily, you have no. Proof.
Make somebody.
I just want to say that the process for even here for code enforcement is you can go through the whole thing, but if the town isn't willing to pay the money to take the house down at the point at the end, and Gary's not on board with saying we're going to take that house down or we're going to clean up that garbage and back bill you, put it back on your taxes. That's not clear, then it's going nowhere. And that's what I went to the court, and as he said, that you get some kind of little fine sometimes, and it just,
I don't think the court has anything to say about tearing down a
Yeah,
house.
we've
I
taken them
think it's a
down.
town-
Taken them down.
Before.
It's a town board decision, actually, I believe.
Yeah,
it goes back to
Yeah.
the town board.
It's up to the code officer
did we
to
take down the one on?
do all the
Miller?
research and put the case
Downhill?
together, present
I
it to the
think they
town
used in
board.
Florida.
That's the most recent
Town
one.
board
Yeah.
decides.
Ah,
I remember that.
Mhm.
I mean, we've taken down.
well, we're prepared to do that, right?
Yeah, I am. I mean,
Well, like I say, it hasn't been anything done since the county changed its policy, so that we're on the hook if it costs more to take down than what the property is worth. But we have to be willing to do it if we're gonna
Yeah.
deal with it.
So in the costs that I have seen incurred or the estimated costs that come in on the demolition permit, it's about $20,000 a house to have it taken down all the way and the hole filled in.
yeah,
A communication to the residents
I missed that.
with that.
Key,
It's-
yeah.
Might go-
Key.
$20,000 cost to have a contractor tear down the house and hollow
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what about the
I
town?
would say you have, even on a smaller house, you probably got 10,000,
Yeah,
you know,
10,000 sounds a lot better than
Between
20.
doing it and hauling it away.
yeah. I would say 20,000 to Probably a pretty good starting point. Depending on the size
And
of the
what
house.
about burying it? You got a foundation hole typically.
The home-
Yeah, you don't want
the
to-
owner, that's a gray area.
Mhm.
It's
If
my
somebody wants to
understanding
build
the
again.
owner can bury it themselves on their property in the hole.
God,
The town can't bury it. A contractor can't bury it.
Yeah, aren't there laws, I guess, you
well,
have
if
to take
somebody
it to
wants to build on that.
qualified C and
It's
D,
gross.
I thought.
I mean, maybe
Depends
there are
on-
people in town,
And
you know,
you
ex
can't burn
carpenters
it.
who would like to earn some money.
DEC won't let you burn it.
Is that right?
They don't do control burns anymore, Steve.
I know, you used to be able to donate your
No, even
house.
If you do, you have to get the fire department involved, and the
Right.
Yeah.
regulations through NFPA are so stringent on that
Yeah,
nobody's interested in doing it.
yeah.
Well,
Anymore.
Keith,
Maybe
What
can
you're-
Keith pull up a chair, please?
If you're gonna be party to a
Right,
conversation,
so-
because you can't be heard on, unless you're close to the mic. So, whoops, we're at time. Right, move for extension.
Yeah, talk about it next time.
What did you say? Sorry.
Talk about it next time.
Well, we have to extend the meeting. What else is on this list?
Our birthday.
15 minutes, extend the meeting 15 minutes.
Is that a motion?
Yeah,
Second.
Okay. Ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay. So we have a
Donners?
motion,
yes,
Hanson,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gannon.
yes.
Awesome.
All right, where were we?
You guys are off the hook. For the time being.
So we're leaving the code enforcement part at that. I will check with my zombie, that I think is a zombie guy, about possible
that'd be
money.
cool.
And I'll look,
Yeah,
the properties that I'm getting complaints on, I will start a letter
start a
campaign.
new file,
Yeah.
new file, a new,
You can
a
check
new
on
day.
cost.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at, give us some examples like this one.
Yeah.
Of cost.
I mean, I remember going to a seminar and I don't remember
Yeah.
now what they think,
It was a long time.
the process you go through and some of the software that's out there to support the code office has the letters and the follow-up and so forth, and you take it through,
Yeah,
and then, there's an endpoint where,
well, his Elmira guy probably has all
The
that stuff.
path
Well,
is
you
clear.
guys probably have all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, path is clear.
Yeah, I mean, right now, all I have for letters are old typed templates that I would have to retype into,
Yeah.
a document. And they're generic, there's no town name, you gotta add all that stuff in.
yeah.
But as Joel mentioned, there's. And way off topic,
Resources.
there's computer
Yeah,
software
Yeah.
that we're looking at getting that. All that stuff's automatically generated,
It would facilitate the process considerably.
so.
Does that go along with with the codifying of the laws and the permitting that?
well,
Yes, I think it does.
Codifying our laws is the first step of that, because it doesn't make sense to have. The laws not codified. Because then you can't tie them into your code
Permit.
enforcement software.
doesn't the code enforcement software have that stuff?
Code enforcement software doesn't codify your laws.
No, I'm not saying that. Don't they have forms and things
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
can
That's
use?
the whole
Nope.
point.
Yeah,
They'll build forms for you
yeah.
for a fee,
Mhm.
so much a form after you're.
Is that Williamson? Is that Williamson?
I don't know, I don't think Williamson does.
But we
I
have
thought so,
ones that
yes,
we
it did.
use.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
ones that Sue created.
Yeah, well, you don't want to
27,000
do
years
that.
ago.
Right, it's fine. It
Well-
it gets you to the place you need to be.
Yeah.
They're legal. There's a process, just like there's 4 or 5 steps.
That's all antique though.
I'm an antique, so is he.
Have
We're
better
looking into the software anyhow, so that's
Yeah.
not part of this discussion.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my God.
I said off top.
You did, yes.
All right,
Yeah,
Huh.
it would be nice to do some follow-up, but we have to have a process that has an endpoint, we force somebody's hand. I remember when we did, it's a house, but the Margaret Adams Ford dossier was like an inch thick before we finally forced the hand, so either you do it or we're gonna
Right.
take it down.
Right.
And we did, but, because she wouldn't do it. Now, we
Okay.
try to work with people and if they don't, they're not
Right.
working.
Well,
If
that's
it-
what
if it's the
usually run
town-
into.
If it's the town doing it, then we have to remember that the town, highway department has already got a full schedule, so we're
Yeah,
taking
absolutely.
away from their schedule, we're taking over the roads.
It has to be on a time that,
Right.
yeah, it can't be, that's a very good point.
Right.
Thank you. It can't be like in the,
Middle of
it might be a good summer job or a winter project for
Right.
us, or, yeah,
Right.
as far as our days are very delegated during the summertime.
Mhm.
Right.
I've got a fuel building over there upside down
Right.
still because
I don't
we
think
don't have time to go out there and
Yeah.
do those.
I don't think highway took down the Miller Road one. I mean, I think there
Did
were
they?
other people that we got to do that, but
Right, right.
but we can throw up roadblocks to everything,
Right.
or we can just try
Yep, yeah.
again and
Yeah.
again.
I don't think any of the things that buildings have been taken down have been done by.
I don't
our
think
crew.
highway
They're
did
all- They
neither.
were all contracted out.
Yeah.
From one person to another.
um,
Well, there is another person that I believe is taking down the house on Comfort Road, by the owner who's paying, I think the owner has hired the
Yeah, I
person.
mean,
that-
there's people around.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
It does happen. You can hire it done.
Alrighty.
It's a lot easier to crunch it up, throw it away than it is to decent
All right,
stuff.
we got 10 minutes.
and salvage.
okay.
All right, so,
I do have one other thing, and that would be if the town does it, can you also be sure about the requirements for safety for the employees that,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
and there might be
Absolutely.
things that
I don't
we had to
think
do.
we never had the town do it, but that
I
doesn't mean
can
they
check
couldn't.
in,
Check.
Where's the fire department?
I can check in and
They
see, what their,
Well, we
I'm
might
not
be able
sure if county still takes that stuff anymore either. They
Yeah,
Right,
very specific if there's like
Right.
asbestos
Right.
involved or.
yeah, and Derek was talking, Derek was talking about things that the fire department can and can't do anymore. I'm sure Steve
well,
has
the nature of
knows
building
that
has
too.
changed.
but-
It used to be
Right.
a wood building and you
Yeah.
burned down. It wasn't a huge toxic mess, but now it is.
right,
More and more
Right.
plastic all the time.
right.
Well, basically, if the fire department burns a house, shingles have to be off,
Right,
vinyl siding has to be off.
Yeah.
Vinyl windows would have to be out.
Yeah.
And nothing in the house has gotta be empty,
right,
can't
right,
burn the contents.
right. Well, That's
And
not-
then there
that's
has to
not bad.
be a certain number of fire engines on scene, an established water supply,
probably
all
far
kinds
enough
of
away from their
firefighter safety
houses.
things,
Yeah.
and it's not
Yeah.
anything. I can't speak for the fire district, but I don't believe it's anything the fire district is interested in taking care of.
Right.
I got
It
that
used to,
impression.
be a
Yeah, I would,
training thing.
I
Yeah,
would push it.
yeah.
I don't know.
But asking is not pushing,
But
just
again.
checking it
if-
out.
In the past, is it done with external contractors?
Yeah.
And I don't.
No, I'm talking about burning,
Yeah, I-
using it for training is what
Right.
they used to do.
That
And maybe
did
they
happen.
can't do it
They've
anymore,
done it on
but it's
parts.
still worth just checking out.
Mhm.
And they can say no, you know?
Mhm.
And maybe
Pretty
it
sure.
depends on if it's a old barn that's fallen down that has none of those things in it, it would be a good training thing. I don't know. So,
It would, but
Yeah.
the NFPA requirements are so
Yeah.
strict that the rural departments
Yeah.
can't meet it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not something they can do.
right, well,
Makes sense. I
That's what
understand.
Derek told me that recently.
Yeah.
They can't, but I mean, I
yeah,
don't know how, we were talking about the jaws of life and the things they can and can't do for demonstrations and
Mhm.
what you have to do to be able to do anything. And he said, and including, we used to be able to burn down houses, but can't do that.
I guess the other thing that I would be concerned about, and I thought I just had is, depending on what the house is, most of these dilapidated houses I see around, I see all the ones that I drive by, and they're generally pretty small houses for
Yeah.
the most part.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right, nothing.
But, we're not getting into taking castles down, not that we have
No.
very many of them in
Yeah.
Danby, but it could be limited in ways,
The list of breeders.
we'd wanna go out and take a good look at what we're dealing with
Yep.
first
Yeah.
before we
Yep.
do any commitments or.
well, it was a lengthy process that we went through to
Oh, sure
do that
was.
one. I mean, that took
Mm.
a year probably.
Yep.
I mean, so it's not something,
Even to have them inspected for
Yeah.
asbestos and. all the inspections that you should do before you do that. Those are expensive
Right,
fees too, but.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds to me like the town board is behind your restarting some of these efforts, and you coming and speaking to us and saying what you just did is helpful. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. ARPA info update. So we have, I see Jim Hall too. Have we made any progress on getting valuation and basically an idea of the market value of the solar array at the highway?
Well, not looking at market value.
Oh, we're looking at, evaluating the condition and whether or not it's
Worth it.
worth it, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So that in order to determine whether it's worth it, you have some idea what it's worth.
Jim can speak to that. Yes, Jim? Hello, Jim?
Hello,
Jim's
Uh,
got a guy.
Laura, I was trying to reach Laura, but I was unable to until last Friday. I met with her, went through the big stack of all the utility bills and the way it's structured to divide up the cost. Got that information from her, got a copy of the agreement. I don't have a list of what the panels are, what the manufacturer. Panels, I don't know if that's something you had, Paul. I need to get the manufacturer name, amount of panels, sizing of the panels. That was not in the files that I found. But I did get the other stuff to start putting it together, and I was in touch with the Chris and at your solar, at My Solar Array, or whatever the name of the company is there. And so he's waiting to get the information from me, but wasn't able to get to Laura till last Friday. But I did get that information.
If I have any.
So this guy Chris is gonna do the inspection.
Mhm.
And so we're waiting weeks, not months, right?
So I got the information on Friday, so I will go through, and he sounded like he'd be pretty prompt in getting up here, but I need to get the information on the actual panel, so. I don't know, is that something that you might have, Paul?
I don't think so. This contract would be the only place that existed, and that would be with Laura.
I have a copy of the contract. It's not listed in there. The size of the array is in there, but not the actual panel names types.
And then
So-
the other thing to do is go to Nornovis.
Yep.
And you're willing to do that?
Do you have a contact there? Some you dealt with before up there?
My memory's good, but not that good.
Okay, I'll
I
call.
should say my memory's bad, but probably that bad.
I'll find somebody up there.
Okay.
That's how you would get the information, basically ask for notice of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that sounds like something that's not dependent on Laura being here, which she's away until the end of the month, basically.
Yep. But I got to meet with her on Friday, so
Of
I
course, she'll
did
have-
get the information I needed from her.
Okay, good. What about, how's your
Thanks, Jim.
drafting doing for the project out here?
Okay, what's the question?
Said, how's the drafting going for the project out there?
I've had a bad week. So I did have it.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, we need to get, a little bit
Yep.
worked up so that we can farm it, farm out the costs.
Can I, like, is there that way to fast track this? Because is Zach gonna do the getting bids on it?
Yeah. Well, I mean. I don't
Or we have
wanna take
we have a formal process, I guess, too, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would think you want to bring back to the board basically the beginning point,
Right,
the design that we can then take and get bids on.
right.
And the cost, we need a rough idea of the
Well,
cost.
you're going to find out when you ask people what are they going to charge us to do it?
But
That's what we
then
need.
that before we decide if we're gonna use the mic.
Correct, but the thing is, it goes out to bid and then we get a clear, we can say what it's gonna, it's gonna be. But,
You were guessing 30,000? That's what I had written down.
but less than 30, it was 30,000 if Zach and I were doing it.
I
Like
thought it was more like
gratis.
8,000.
My body's breaking down pretty quickly these days.
Mhm.
So if the bids come in like really high, then I would reconsider something. And maybe in the fall, I could do it when the weather's better for my bones.
Yeah. Yeah. You
So-
took care of the barns.
And then laying the stone, we were talking about the blue stone at the end. That I think I could do without too much issue. Depends on how they cut it. Oftentimes they cut it so that it's just a pattern. And then it's easy to lay.
Mhm.
But, so there's, things up in the air still.
Yeah.
So we'll bid the whole thing. I should have it in a week. I assume if it's okay with you, I'll give it to Zach and let him, at least him try that.
Mhm.
We do have a procedure for doing bids.
Yeah. It's a
And-
public work, it's a public works project.
Yeah. It's just, my experience is that it's worth our while to do it independently in addition to whatever that is, those are requirements. Because oftentimes these are state, big companies that come in and just cost so much money. So,
There's no requirement that it be such a company. You can use the local.
no, it's just, it's true, but the pathways are not that clear. In the sense that people don't get to know about it in the same way. When you put them out to bid, and again, it's just experience on one of the state contract kind of sites, you get these absolutely egregious bids. So,
Yeah.
that's why we also have to call local people
Yeah.
to get them to come out and give us some kind of numbers. So it'll take, at least, are we in June? It'll take all summer to get that worked out, I believe. But if
That's why we need to get on it. because-
Yeah, I hear it.
Because we need to know how much, if we're not gonna do that, we need to spend the money on something else before we lose the money.
Right.
Yeah,
So it is.
the money need to be committed by the end of the year.
I'm not
Committed,
letting
preferably
it
before the end of the
the
year,
last
so that
few
we have a
weeks of
chance to
the
actually
time.
do some of this now.
Did we get any ideas about the shed for the West Danby Water
I don't
District?
think, I haven't heard any updates the last time that
No.
Merrill was here. We said,
Okay.
gave us a pretty good idea what the, he had a deal from the
Mhm.
dealer that would, that allowed her to get a building way bigger than we had talked about, but for much the same limits. I forget what else I should put.
But you didn't have the cost of
Shipping,
Oh, the
shipping.
ship, oh, yeah, well, that we know.
That was the
The $300.
Delivery.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so I did, I don't remember how, but
Said it
$300?
she said it last
The
week.
West Danby Water District meeting.
Okay, great, it was, yes,
Oh,
so
that's
$300 to get here, which is astonishing,
$300 to get it here?
Yeah, yeah, I thought so too. So I was afraid it's gonna be a lot more, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So, there's more cost, you have to deal with electric, and you've got to deal with the site craft, and is that where it's going? And I don't know how the meeting went, she and Ben were gonna meet with the fire commissioners to see whether or not the lawyer's judgment could be revisited in a workaround that would allow the fire hall to be used
Okay.
instead, but I haven't heard how that went. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, there is something about that. I mean, that room is only, it's not really suitable for anything long-term. Everything that's in there has to be locked separately because there are other people that use that room and the computer cannot be there. There's a lot of other issues that
Yeah.
make this a better idea. The future of what's going to happen, would be easier for them.
Mhm,
If they had a real office.
mhm.
I mean, it's a closet. It's about 2 desks length and about this wide. Yeah. No windows, no,
We have to need
I thought it
interior,
had to have a
interior
window.
office.
what?
I thought it had to have a window.
Well, it doesn't, so
No,
I
you
think
need-
it's
Talked
not
about
really,
needing a window.
The chief's office and
No,
so forth, those are
this is-
interior rooms, they don't have any,
it's in the,
windows.
Oh, you mean in
what's
the
in there,
building
yeah, the
now?
thing that's
Yeah.
not
Well,
appropriate,
There's,
right?
So we don't,
They
anyway,
deserve a
I'm
building.
sure that will come up at the next meeting, but I don't know the answer to the question. But we do know it's $300 a day.
right, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Jim, do you have something you wanted to add?
Yes, just when you're thinking about where to allocate funds, there'll be lots of energy efficiency projects, which you might want to consider. as putting funds towards. I'm not sure where you are on it, but just to keep that in mind.
What did you have in mind?
Do you have a list?
I'll get you a list for next meeting.
Okay,
Okay. Can you get it to us before the next meeting?
Yeah, there won't be, amounts with some of the things, but I can make a list of some options.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay.
Okay.
that's, that'd be good.
Um. All right.
Okay. All right, so, anything you specifically want in the next meeting agenda, or we good?
We want to talk about that potential social media, and social media rules? That was something we talked about. And that somebody brought up. Now I just saw it on my
You mean
town
how you
social-
participate in
social media policies.
Or what,
It could be along with
broadening your
emails or something,
email
sort
policy.
of.
to include certain meetings.
It is separate from the,
Yeah,
but it can, you can, Leslie can add it to the,
Yeah, we'll add it to the list.
yeah.
yeah, sometimes.
Add it to the
they-
email thing.
In social media policy, it's broader than just,
Right,
maybe we should take a look at that.
yeah.
Okay. All right, we're 5 minutes over.
And 5 minutes over, I just forgot to say something about, I don't know how many of you people, you know Bob Beck,
I know about that.
you know he died.
Yeah,
No.
He did.
yeah.
Suddenly, and it may have been the consequences of a tick bite. But he, did not get to see the completion of the rail trail
Just
or the
right,
bridge.
yeah.
But
Huh,
it's very sad,
is that a,
yeah.
oh,
It makes you appreciate how important.
That's what it looks like these days? I knew him 20 years ago. He looked a lot different then.
well, so did you. Didn't we all?
Okay, and then I think brings us to the end,
Aw,
meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
So.
aw.
Well, how can I leave? I wanted,
Oh.
you're gonna have to end the meeting, right?